Hi guys, and thanks again for joining us. Today's video. I know that most of you like watching the warranty videos, and I don't want people to think that I'm just putting out warranty video after warranty video because that is what people like watching. It was quite nice actually this week to get a bit of machining done, to have sort of not too much hassle on the phone and dealing with sort of stressful, not people complaining, but just dealing with customers on the phone generally, whether it be just pricing up jobs or discussing future jobs and what have you. That is what we do. Yeah, that's all part of business. But, some weeks it's worse than others, and it does stress me out because I'm the one that has to deal with it. I want everyone to see the full running of a business like ours. Now, I have had comments off some of you guys, not many, only a handful, really, saying that, this showing these videos is not going to do your business any good. But to be honest with you, it doesn't seem to affect it. And as I say, if you actually watch our videos, a lot of the problems are not sort of caused by ourselves anyway. It's all very well putting on this flashy front and what have you, and just showing you all the good bits and but that really isn't how a business goes from day to day. You have your problems, you have your stresses, and you a lot of the time they're not just warranty claims, but just what I find most stressful about running a business is the after sales, if you will. So when the engine's done, because we do a lot of performance engines nowadays, once you've got the planning initially of the engine, you've got the building of the engine and all that sort of project. But after the engine has left us, it's still not just because of the warranty, but we like to keep communication with the customer. They ring us for advice, they ring us for specs and what have you. Although we itemise invoices as much as we can and put down what we've done to the engine and what the engine's got in it, they sometimes, tuners will ask for compression ratios and this, that, the other. So I do find myself that part of it just as stressful as anything else, if not more really, because you never know when they're going to ring, and obviously when a job's gone, we've got to load more jobs, and sometimes things they're asking for either slips your memory or you can't remember, so what I want to sort of discuss today is a particular email that I had recently off a customer. But first of all, having said what I've just said, I just want to sort of show you how I go about noting things down to remember what we've done on a particular job. So what I do on a decent project engine, I will first of all do an estimate for the customer on the computer. Okay, so on my accounts package, I will put on there an estimate. And as the job goes on, we have a job card where we list everything we do, all the hours, all the parts, all the labour, all the machining. And I also input that onto the estimate. Two reasons for that. One, obviously, so I know when it comes to doing the invoice, I've got it there, exactly what has been done and put in the engine. But for another good reason, and this email that I've had recently is a prime example of why I do this. Now, what I do on the bottom of the estimate, there is a notes column, and in the notes, I will put in there anything that I think that needs to be stored for information that may come up in the future. Not only that, but I will put in there notes, important notes, of anything I've discussed with the customer on the phone or in person, or anything that I feel is important. So that's the way I work. I can then revert if the customer rings me back in 11 months' time when the engine is still under warranty, or if it isn't a problem and they need some information, like I say, I can go back under their name, have a look at the estimate, and in the notes there will be everything that I've discussed. So that is the way I do it. That's the way I work. Right, so had an email recently, And you always know when you open the email, or just before you open the email, that it's not going to be too brilliant when the title of the email is embarrassed and angry. Go back to the beginning on this particular customer and what we've done for them. So very nice gentleman, dealt with him for quite a while, comes to us. His son does racing, doing I think it's the Formula Ford or something like that, with the single seater running a 1600 crossflow engine. So comes to us sort of end of 2019 with a crossflow engine request. He says, engine's going to be fully stripped. I want you to do all the necessary machining on the engine. I said, yeah, that's absolutely fine. He said, what I'll do is I'll drop it all off with a list of all the regulations to do with that engine on what you can and can't do. Absolutely fine. We've built race engines plenty of times, and we've had this many a time, so that's not a problem. So turns up with the first engine. He wanted it bored to plus 90, which is what you can do. You can go to maximum. You can regrind the crank and balance the crank assembly. You can machine the piston crown to get the right level height to the block after facing the block. So you are allowed to face the block. So that's what we've done. We supplied pistons at plus 90, and we machined the top of the piston so it was level with the block. But in the regulations, you must machine the bowl to the correct volume, or the original volume that it was. So that means altering the depth to get the original combustion chamber volume. Right, you're allowed to go through the cylinder head, as in overhaul it. You are not allowed to do any porting whatsoever. And I've got a feeling you're not allowed to put bigger valves in. Maybe, I can't remember now, but I think you may be allowed tougher valve springs. And you are allowed to run an uprated camshaft, but it has to be a specific camshaft sold by, I think we got that one from Ford sort of motorsport department. They do a specific grind for the crossflow, and that's what you can use in that formula. Anyway, done all that, not a problem. Now, pistons, the original piston make, I think, was AE. Now, in the rules, in the regulations, it says you are allowed to use either a neural piston, which is a maker piston, or you're allowed an AE piston. And that's what it says you're allowed to use. So that was fine. We went with a neural piston. Went with a well-known classic Ford dealer on all the parts. And got all the parts, done it, no problem at all. Took it away, happy as Larry. Now, May time 2020, he was threatening on bringing a spare engine or a second engine in to have all the same sort of stuff done to it. So he bought that in. We did that, I think it was May 2020. And again, same process, when bored it to plus 90, all this, that, the other. Now, the only thing was then, and this happens a lot on the classic car engine sort of parts market at the moment especially, is 1 month you'll do an engine, the next month you can do the same engine at the same spec, and a certain size of whatever part will not be available. So that's why we always do estimates, because you never know where you might have to get the parts and whether they stuck a premium on a certain size that's hardly available. So the piston at plus 90 in neural was not available. And neither was AE. We've got a couple of classic sort of parts dealers that we deal with, couldn't get them, wasn't available in 90. So rang the customer and had this conversation with him, and I said to him, what do you want to do about it? I said, if you're not allowed to, it doesn't say you can use anything else, it says that you have to use AE or neural. The only thing we can get at this time in plus 90 is Hepalite. Now, we had a box of a piston, not at plus 90, but we had a box of that period piston. And on the box was plastered AE all over it, but the actual make of the piston was Hepalite. And on the ticket underneath says manufacturer Hepalite, trademark of AE parts. So at that time, that says to me that Hepalite and AE are the same sort of thing. Now, we compared this Hepalite piston to one of his original, well, what was neural that he had in it. Exactly the same weight, same style, same everything. I said, look, you've got two choices. You can wait and see when they're available. I mean, they were on back order. They didn't know when they were going to be available. It was one of those, it could be months, could be a year. You haven't got a clue. Or you can use a Hepalite. Didn't say you can't, just didn't say you can, So I put the ball in his court. He says, well, what do you think? If that's all available, he said, I need the engine. What do you do if the parts aren't available? We just, you have to, I suppose you have to build with what you got. But anyway, he went with that. So that's what we did, put the Hepalites in there. Anyway, I wrote this on the notes, on the estimate, on the computer, that I'd had the conversation, but, the others weren't available, and this is what we've discussed, and, I've got the go-ahead. Anyway, done that, took it away, everything's hunky-dory. Had this email recently, and bear in mind, this guy's really nice chap, he really is, got on with him really well. This is why this email shocked me a bit, really, because as I say, the heading was embarrassed and angry. So opened up the email. It said, basically, I'm writing this email because I cannot contain my anger on the phone. Apparently, he's been pulled in because he was doing really well. It was his boy that raced in the championship. His boy was doing really well, and I expect it was a bit like when we were in British Superbikes. I think people can sort of complain if you're doing a bit too well and get your engine stripped and checked, and that's exactly what's happened to him. So an engine company has stripped his engine, and they found it to have illegal pistons in there. He said on the email that he was very embarrassed. He was talked down to like a child and read the rules, and that you are not allowed to use Hepalite pistons. He said, I'm very disappointed with you. I want you to do two things. I want you to write a letter that I can forward on to the 750 Motor Club, I think it was, and show them that it was fully your responsibility. And secondly, I want you to supply 4 neural pistons at plus 90, and I want them ASAP. And that was the email. First of all, I tried ringing him straight away, no answer. I then emailed him saying, I think we ought to speak on the phone about this. I have some information here that could sort of change your mind. And also, I wanted to discuss with him the fact that we had this box. So it may be that Hepalite are not sort of with AE now, but back in the day, they definitely were, because, we've got a lot of old stock pistons and AE and Hepalite are linked. It could be a technicality, but I wanted to point out to him our conversation back then that he seemed to have forgot. It could have been a genuine mistake on his behalf and he really just didn't remember. He could have been, obviously he was very upset at the time, but I believe that it was a situation where I needed to speak with him on the phone. Anyway, I got a reply back saying, I'm busy at the moment, I will ring you back. He didn't ring me back. So I thought what I'll do, and it did bother me for a week or so, I thought I'll leave it a week or so and then I'll ring him back and hopefully he answers and we can talk sensibly on the phone. Well, I left it a week and a half and I rang him back and he did answer, and he had actually calmed down quite a lot. And I don't know whether he did sort of, after he calmed down, remember the conversation, but his tune had changed quite a lot, and I did state to him that, you know, you may be able to go back to him with a technicality, but I'm just making suggestions here. But ultimately, this is what I have on my notes. I've got the dates. I've got, you know, I specifically remember speaking to you on the phone as well. I can forward you this estimate that bear in mind, once invoiced, you can't tamper with the estimate on the computer. So that is how it was back then. I can forward you this just to put, he didn't want to know that. I suspect that he'd jogged his own memory and remembered it. So there we go. He's gone away. We sort of, you know, he was back to his friendly self on the phone. He's gone away. I haven't heard since to speak to the 750 Motor Club, and hopefully he's resolved it. I really do hope he has, you know, and we'll help him as much as we can. But the moral of the story is, if your memory ain't that good, put everything on the system or on paper. Keep all your notes. They're very important, especially when you're dealing with motorsport engines, because, as I say, once the engine's gone and paid for, it ain't over. And not just from a warranty point of view, you've got potentially sort of 12 months that you need to revert back to your notes, and you know, you may need to help the customer or the tuner or whatever in either tuning the engine or replacing parts or that, you know, service items that you've put in and they may not know about. So it's very important, and that's why we do it. But yeah, there we go, guys. I guess it was a sort of kind of warranty video, but yeah, I just wanted to sort of share that with you, and just to say that, you know, there's a lot of you that are watching that like these warranty videos, but they're not all bad on our account. It's just giving you a sort of in-depth running of the business, really, as it were, from day to day. So hope you enjoyed, guys. Thanks again for watching. Remember, put any comments down below, like and subscribe as normal, and we'll see you in another video. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.